on tax deeded properties.
There was some talk about the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board wanting to be involved in that process.
They already have been.
Okay. And
Now, whether they're stale or not, that's another question.
I don't know whether or not, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm really not at all interested in watching some video on YouTube. I'm more interested in the certified minutes as issued by the town clerk and the moderator of the town meeting. And that's what we have in hand. So that's the minutes. Those are the legal minutes of the meeting. That said, this discussion about whether or not things should only be put out for sealed bid and not be auctioned, I think that the question in my mind isn't whether or not the town voted on that because they didn't. And secondly, what turns the most money? And is it a combination of those two things? I mean, do we put the property on the market and you can submit a bid and the auction will happen on a day forward, say 90 days ahead of that, and your bid will be part of the auction process, and whoever pays the most money gets the piece. That said, I'm fully in favor of putting the properties back in the tax rolls. So.
Bill?
As I think I stated last week, the best way to sell real estate is by auction. That's the only way that real estate is sold, for instance, in foreclosures. And I'm told by people that are involved in that industry, the reason is keeps everything above board and ensures that the highest market price is achieved. Auctions generally provide an opportunity for somebody to participate by proxy, so that even if you can't be there the day of the auction, you do have an opportunity to participate. Where we come out with respect to town meeting is clearly there was strong opposition to an auction at town meeting, and if that's where we come down this year, I don't have any problem with it. But I think that we have a responsibility to put this property back on the tax rolls at the best price possible. So if where we come down is we can't do an auction this year, I say defer it for next year. Just because we have people that have a personal issue with the person that we've talked about as being the auctioneer for the property doesn't excuse us from pursuing the best option for the town. And the best option in terms of selling real property is at an auction.
And I think those two issues are separate, because I don't think the board, as it's presently made up, has selected an auctioneer.
We haven't.
We're talking about the concept of auction versus or auction and sealed bid. And if people want, I mean, I'm looking at the minutes here that were given to us by the town clerk and the moderator of the town meeting. And it's pretty clear that we can do whatever we need to do to sell the property. So there may be some voices out there that are gonna yell and scream, but the amendment read, quote, "To see if the town will vote pursuant to RSA 80:80 to authorize the selectmen to convey real property acquired by the town by tax collector's deed, by public auction, or advertised sealed bid, or in such manner as determined by the selectmen as justice may require." We can wait a year and let this lapse, but we're just pushing it down the road. I guess it's up to the three of us to decide whether or not we want to do that, but we did have money in the budget for the sale of property, so we have to figure out how we're gonna offset that loss of income.
Yeah.
So,
I'll weigh in on this. Auctions, Sager and the auctions that he's done in the other community were a success and a moneymaker. That being said, I left the town meeting clear in my mind that by 3 votes, the town meeting said we do not want Rick Sager to be the auctioneer. Go by closed sealed bid.
Oh, I don't think it's clear that Sager's got an issue being the auctioneer. I mean, but that's an other issue, because we haven't selected an auctioneer.
Right.
But I'm not ready to preclude auctions based on what I witnessed at the town meeting.
All other things being equal in my mind is, it was clear that when I left that town meeting, the properties, we got authority to do sealed bid and nothing else. I mean, I'm gonna have
You're welcome to have
to,
that.
I'm gonna have to listen to the tape. And I go one step further. I'm like you guys, you know, warrant article, let the people who write the checks make the decision. And in past years, they've made some decisions about not paving Sawyer Road and not doing a public safety building, and I've listened to what they've said. I gotta say, they're short-sighted, but, and that's my comment, but I try to follow both the letter and the spirit of the law. I did think, what would it cost for someone to do the necessary paperwork that ordinarily the auctioneer does, the advertising and the notifying. And we do have an individual who, in town, on the payroll, who does that for a number of committees.
But she
It
can't
saves
create
us
a-
money.
She can't create a deed.
but-
She can't.
Right.
So
So
you're gonna have some.
that means going to a lawyer to create a deed, right?
Right.
We can go back and forth and back and forth,
Yes.
and maybe it's just we leave it alone for the year. Because I fully appreciate that the legislative body can direct us as to how we spend money on specific items. But we are actually the caretakers of the
Yes.
town. So I think it's a reach. It's beyond statute that vote, if it's like, as you said it is.
Right.
But the other problem with it is that recorded vote that you could see on YouTube or on a recording isn't the legal minutes of the meeting. These are,
Yes.
you know? So if it's an issue, maybe we leave it alone, but at some point in time, we're gonna have to come forward and do a sale of property.
I like, your suggestion is that we kind of table this discussion and we revisit the issue next year for town meeting.
Well, or we can talk to other auctioneers and continue to sort through a process. One of the concerns last year about the list of property that was brought forward for sale, I believe is a non-issue. But it was raised as a strong concern, and that is that there are parcels on seasonal roads and on Class 6 roads that are part of the offering. And the concern was if we sell property, then somebody is going to want to come and have the town maintain the roads. There's the way you deal with that, and as is, as the state recommends, is that you insert language in the deed that that makes certain that that everybody understands that a Class 6 road is a Class 6 road. That the town.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain kind of caveat emptor involved in it.
Well, and the other side of it is if we're concerned about land on Class 6 roads that somebody might develop, then the obvious or illogical extension to that is every parcel on a Class 6 road the town ought to own, so we don't have to worry about somebody coming in and trying to develop it or build on it and then want to come back on the town for taking care of the road.
As the owner of 130 acres on a Class 6 road, I'd be more than happy to sell it.
Right, exactly.
But I don't know that would pass the straight face test.
Right.
No, I'm just saying that becomes the extension to, we don't want to sell a parcel on a Class 6 road because somebody might want the town to start maintaining the road again.
Is it fair we take no action today until we ruminate a little bit more on this?
I think we'll probably have to ruminate on it some more anyway. 'Cause
Yes.
I'll get my head cut off when I leave the room, so
Yep.
we'll see what happens. Few of them left.
Okay, the certified minutes you're talking about, is that what is online? For the
I have no
meeting?
idea if it's online. I'm just saying is it online?
So
That
what
it's
you have are
online.
certified minutes, okay.
Those are her final minutes. I understand the first
Right.
draft didn't have that same decision.
Right.
Oh, so you were reading the final minutes?
I'm reading the minutes that were given to us as final from the town clerk and the.
Those are
The
considered.
That was
previous
from the
meeting,
action.
it was a draft. This
Correct.
meeting, you have the final minutes.
And I don't see that there was any change from the draft to the final.
Right.
Oh, okay.
In that respect, in that particular.
So you
article.
read it and you included auctions and advertisements?
And it's an auction,
Because actually, they did X out the auction part, right?
Right.
That's the last paragraph, that's the second
Okay.
amendment.
But what didn't
Oh, there's another
what
paragraph.
didn't get eliminated from it was the wording about or as
Yeah.
or other means as
by public auction or advertised sealed bid was the way the article read.
Yeah.
The way the
The final.
amendment read is like to convey real property acquired by town tax deeds by public auction or advertised sealed bid or in such manner as determined by the selectmen as justice may require, which is, I think, right out of the RSA.
But there was an amendment to take out the option to do auction.
yes.
Okay.
And
And
that
pass is amended that remove the wording by public auction.
They removed that and they changed it to 1 year.
Right.
But I did listen to the video, and even though Dan Varner didn't read those other words, they were never crossed. They were never those words that were as recommended by the selectmen. Those were never taken out by the body. But when he read it and he said period. So he didn't read it, but they were never officially taken out.
Yeah.
But I talked to Dan Barnard and he said he and Heather agreed with Maxim that they have amended the minutes.
Well,
Apparently. But what you have is what.
But we're gonna live by the RSA, whatever has happened.
So
But
does
be
the-
that as it may, if, I think we as a board have decided to just let the issue lie. Because we don't feel as though we're gonna get the right return.
Exactly.
And if.
You feel irresponsible to, you
we're-
want to be,
We are responsible for the,
you want to be
financial
responsible
liability.
for
the
the
big
best
picture.
deal.
Right.
Yeah.